Hey, how's it going? Okay, so today I'm gonna read the card from the Wild Unknown deck. Mouse. First I want to talk about my first impression when I pulled it, because really, even though it's not like a personal pull for like my own personal stuff, I mean, I did pull it, and I did ask, like, what can I expect from today? Like, what's the tone gonna be? And, even though, like, the day was well past, like, literal day part by the time I pulled the card, my day did get to a late start. Like, well, it did and it didn't. But all of that said, like, if I had pulled it in the beginning of the day, I would have been, like, annoyed, honestly. But that's because I have, like, negative associations that are not necessarily true. But, so, if you pull a card, you want it to be, God, okay, I'm just gonna, you don't have to see that. There we go. So, you want, like, power. You want to feel positive. And my negative associations, from what I'm saying, you probably have picked up, was like, oh no, small, weak, and scared. And those are not just my associations. They're also, like, part of what is in the text of the guidebook that talks about this card. But like I said, one of the things that the author instructs you to do when using the cards is to, rather than rely on the book, you know, take what you know about the animal itself and its characteristics and see how that applies to whatever you've asked. But, you know, having asked about, like, what is the day going to be like, you or I hope you're going to have a good, happy, fun, no problem day. Like, best avoid, like, all of the death and destruction type stuff. Like, that would be ideal for me. So, when I looked at the guidebook, I remembered that one thing that this person that made the cards does is there are other animals that you may have a negative association with. There's snakes, there's like a hyena, and, you know, we get ideas that are, you know, maybe not the most positive thing. Like, you know how some people that don't like snakes, you hear about it all the time, how they feel about it. It's a pretty strong emotion and aversion, and they're scared of them. So, but they have ideas that are mistaken too. Like, snakes are not slimy. I don't even know where that comes from, because they don't even look slimy. Like, when I look at something that has actual slime, the snake does not have that appearance. And then if you actually handle one, you'll know right away that it's dry and smooth and pretty warm. There's no, like, wet or slime at all. So, but we get hung up on those things. And I remember when the first time I looked up this card, when I very first got this deck, I thought, wow, you know, usually she kind of rehabilitates, like, those sort of negative associations. Because she'll mention them too. Excuse me. But about the mouse, even though she's, like, she'll do like a, you may think this thing negatively about the mouse, but it has this and this and this quality that's positive and good. And she did do that. But I don't really feel like the enthusiasm for the animal was there. Like, maybe she has an aversion to mice. I don't know. But, I feel like, you know, one of the things she pointed out was, like, the sort of obsessive hoarding qualities they have, and sort of obviously they're going to be secretive and furtive because, yeah, they are scared, and you would be paranoid too if you were like this little small, like pretty much against everything else, weak creature that is you're thought of more as food by the other creatures around you that you interact with if you're a mouse. So, yeah, they're sneaking around getting their little seeds and nuts or whatever they're getting to eat because they have a life. And what the... I'm so sorry. I don't even know what that is. Anyway, they have a life. They would like to maintain it. They have to eat, and, you know, they have to have living accommodations, and they have to, you know, they have their stuff they got to do, like mouse business. Like people have their stuff they got to do to, you know, keep themselves alive and living somewhere, like indoors, if at all possible, and fed, and all of the stuff you need, right? So the mouse is doing this. The mouse has a family. But the mouse has to go out and, like, do the mouse business with all kinds of predators that could be lurking everywhere, you know? And the mouse has to be really shrewd and crafty and, like, go out into this everything eat mouse world. Okay, one of those is going to fall, or not, maybe both of them, and it's probably going to scare me. That is a prediction. One of my signs. So anyway, that's like the condition the mouse has to live under. And they, you know, have to be a master of stillness and camouflage, and they are, otherwise there wouldn't be a whole bunch of mice around. So they're actually pretty highly skilled in, like, surviving stalking and I told you, constant predation, right? And the mouse can do, like, other amazing things. And I was reminded of this the other day when I let my cat out of the window that's near where I sleep. And I had forgotten that I had left the screen closed, so I had to kind of reach over half asleep and open it. And I didn't open it very much, but when I woke up, I saw that it was far smaller than I would have thought he could get through. And he has, like, puffy hair. He does. He has a thick, hairy coat. But he's solid, you know. He's not skin and bones. But I thought, that seems really small for him. Because, you know, his head's going to be bigger than the rest of his body, right? And I thought, what are you, a mouse? A beetle? Like, you totally shifted your shape. But, you know, that... it was just a funny thing to me in the moment, but not surprising about cats because they do conform to shapes that you wouldn't think they belong in. But I'm not talking about cats right now. I'm talking about mice. So, they're actually, I mean, I feel like the negative associations and the bad rap are undeserved. I mean, how dare we call them weak little scared creatures? Like, the conditions they have to live under, I don't know if this mouse is, like, hiding under a Christmas tree or what. Or it's just got, like, protective spirits around it. Like, it's dark, so it's, like, probably hiding. And it looks alert. I don't know about alarm, but it looks like it's paying attention. But that's probably the constant state of being a mouse. But one thing that the book touched upon that was kind of more about why I'm talking about it is that, well, she was saying that in their hunting and gathering, you know, of, like, their food supplies and just moving about, like, getting water, or, like, whatever the mice do in their mice business, that they get so caught up in the protective nature of what they're doing that maybe it can be sort of paranoiac. And I really kind of anthropomorphized that to people, and the gun situation, where for some people it's so necessary to have one, because when I ask, like, well, what do you need it for? What are you afraid of? They're like, well, I could get robbed or raped or, robbed a different way, But, I have a family. I want someone to come in and do anything to them. All valid concerns. But it makes me want to ask, like, has it happened to you before? Or does it happen to you a lot? Because usually it has not happened to these people. Like the things they list, I've asked a lot of people. And I haven't, I think I know one person that ended up getting a gun after they got shot. And it was, someone I know. But everyone else I know that has them has never had to face the things that they say they're so afraid of that they got it for. And my thing is like, some of the things on the list have happened to me, like some of them multiple times, and I have not felt sorry, I'm squirmy. I told you I move a lot. Anyway, and so I know guns are there. I have had money to get a gun. I've been old enough to get one for long enough. I don't think that that's the appropriate response. Like, if you do get held up or have something done to you, for me, the appropriate response is not to get a bigger gun back at them, And even when it's been like a complete assault on my personal autonomy, that still isn't the answer. Like, I would rather they get raped too than me pull a gun on them. And I have handled them and been close enough to, if I've handled them, I've been able to look at them pretty closely in a number of situations with a number of different people. Some that I felt comfortable with them having the thing, and others where I was like, I want to get without, beyond shooting range of the gun being in this person's hand. Not that they were going to shoot me because they were trying to, just that I didn't want to be around it while they could handle it. And so, but when I handled it, what I felt was like, this would just take someone's life or fuck it up really bad, if it injured them, or, I mean, even if the injury was relatively minor, and like, I love that term, because I wonder how many times the person saying that has had a relatively minor gunshot wound. But anyway, yeah, it just doesn't feel good. Like, the knowledge, like, I just wouldn't do that to someone. I wouldn't. I've had the opportunity, I've had the things happen, and that's just not been my response. But that's just me. And that's the thing about, like, everything that society is, like, vocally disagreeing with itself about. It's like, we don't understand each other's thinking, and I think it's becoming more and more clear to people that, say there's like, let's take the situation with the Democrats and the Republicans. I'm on the left for sure, but I'm not like all rabid about it. I'm not like, oh, the left. It just happens to be where my personal positions align best. But there is like a skirmish between the two, and if we narrow it down to not to the gun thing, but to like the January 6th thing, if you look at the range of people that thought it was okay to go in there and do that and their reasons for doing it, and then like everybody else that disagrees, what you will see is there is a spectrum. And I'll just call it like a making sense spectrum, where like on the far end of either those people just know this is the right thing to do. But then when you get towards the middle, it's like people can think like some of this is okay and some of that's okay, and or think none of the stuff on the left is okay, but varying degrees of stuff on the right is. And just kind of disagreement situations like that. And the conversation around the things that happen and the things that are said tends to be sort of a, well, not sort of, completely an examination, a personal examination of, like, this person is this way and that, and they might not phrase it in the most productive terms where they're talking about like a mental or neurological or physiological thing that's making the people behave in the way that they're disagreeing with. Or it just becomes like a name-calling thing where it's like fat and stupid, educated and blah. And it's like, it's never as simple as that. Some of it may be true, but it doesn't even matter, because that's not what it is. That's not the thing that's causing the disagreement and the separation between people. It's that depending on what your consciousness level is, some stuff is going to be completely fine to you and you're not going to see what's wrong with it that's bothering the other people. And they have a other consciousness too, which, you know, may be kind of one of a less violent nature, but maybe that's just a less physically demonstrable violent nature, because the language can get pretty nasty, and the more worked up people get, the angrier they get, the more likely they are to do something ... So, I just am, like, as I'm just watching this stuff go on, kind of straddling, like, both worlds, trying to understand, but also trying to, well, I don't have to try to, like, sort of maintain my own position about it, but it's kind of like maintaining neutrality, because on either side, people will piss me off, and I don't want to get, like, sucked into my own anger, upset cycle thing, and especially if it has to do with something like I was just talking about, where, I mean, okay, it can be upsetting, but, like, don't get sucked into stuff. Just for me, saying this to me for myself, but I'm sharing it with you. I don't want to get sucked into that, because then you forget what you're doing. You forget, like, what your values are, and again, speaking for me, so when I say you, I mean me. But I just thought it was interesting that that thing that a mouse does is, I can liken it to, like, the same kind of paranoia of predators that, like, this guy has real predators. Like, they want to eat him and his family. Like, it's like, they're not even thinking about it as death. They're thinking it as, like, McLunch, McMouse. If they think about it in those terms at all, it's like the predators just know they gotta eat, and the mice knows it has to eat, but while it's getting the food at the mouse market, it has to be careful not to be eaten. That is not necessarily the same situation that humans face that can arm themselves with weapons, though. That's just my personal opinion on the matter. So, enough about that. I did pull a second card, and what am I doing on time here? Oh, that didn't help. Okay. So from the Shaman's Dream Oracle, I pulled number 14, Drifter. Oops. And it says, experience life as it comes. Well, that's definitely a philosophy I'm doing my best to adopt more and more. Oh, gosh, here comes my kitty. Want to get in your sink? Are you going to come up here? Say hi. Oh, you're going to give me a hug? Hello. Oh, hi. So, the cat is now in the video. Hello, this is Puff. Nandor Puff. Okay, so let's read what the guidebook has to say. Puffer. What lights you up? Experiencing life as it comes. Seeking the essence but not knowing the form. The drifter invites you to step out of your to-do list and your ordinary routine to feel the breeze against your skin, calling you to follow the wind and explore life's opportunities. When the drifter appears, it's a sign that it's time to cut the mooring lines holding you to the dock. It's not important to know the destination before you set sail. It will become clear as you leave port. You need some pets. You have to wait a second, buddy. As you leave port, where'd it go? Oh. Do not wait for a map, as there are none to show you where you are destined to go. But be sure that you do have a compass to keep you true. Yours is your pure love and your intention to be free, even of your own beliefs and preconceptions. A couple of pets. Okay, how about this? Give me head scratches. Few appreciate the energy of the drifter. Here you might not seem to be doing anything worthwhile or meeting someone else's expectations, but you are the only one who understands that others are running full out on the hamster wheel and getting nowhere. Your laziness is an unappreciated virtue. You know that life will find you and bring you everything you require without you even having to search for it, by simply being instead of frantic doing. Yes, that's right. Even as you let your mind wander, releasing it to go on a daily walkabout, call it back home regularly to deliver news from the cosmos. The drifter helps you find what you are looking for, even when, uh-oh, time's up. Lets you find what you are looking for, even when you didn't think you were seeking anything. They're my assistants in his sink. So, that is something, the experiencing life as it comes and just sort of freeing yourself from being tied down to, you know, whatever it is that's holding you back from freely drifting in the current. You know, I don't know that I could have done it the way I'm doing it now, where I am free to just sort of let things happen as they happen. And it's because I have a level of stability in my life, and I know that to a degree, I don't have to be tied down to anything. You know, I have some responsibilities that I have to take care of, and that is all, you know, as of now and into the foreseeable, under control. So I don't have to worry about a bunch of things. You know, and I don't have to worry because illness and, you know, just physical challenges, and that frees up a lot of time. So when I worked, it was not as simple. You know, I had to be somewhere else on somebody's schedule. Sometimes I had 2 jobs. You know, I had, for many years, I kept 2 cats to keep each other company because I would be gone all day. And I had, you know, well, I lived in a different place, and when I worked, I had more of a social life than I do now. You know, it's pretty much now all online, but in the other town that I lived in, I was in a band. I would go out to clubs. I would see people around the neighborhood that I got to know from, you know, wherever. And I don't have that really here because, well, the location's completely different. I'm completely different. My physicality is completely different. So, but one thing I can do is, I have a lot of freedom. I don't really need to specify, but I have a lot, I don't have a family other than myself and my cat to take care of. Also frees up a lot of time. And it's just, kind of like, it's like perfect because I get to, look at things people watch. I feel like I get to play all the time. So I kind of live out of my comfort zone anyway. But I do often think that, like, this drifter thing, I think it's talking more about a water thing, but I often use that metaphor. But another one I use a lot is the windsock, and I'm the windsock, and I just sort of, catch what goes by. Or either I'm the windsock, or I've got the windsock on a pole or something, and I can select what I want to catch in it that's just floating by in the atmosphere. Okay, I'm gonna go. You don't need to know that. Thank you and good night.